All right. Well, let's get started. First of all, let's pull up a picture. Narn Bintak. So what we got here. That's interesting. Shadow Cat, I don't think I did. I think I forgot about it. I did very ADHD. Let me real quick see if I can, because I don't have auto zoom on. I do have focus on. That's not good. Right there. Okay. Fill. Okay. So, here is the ship. So, this is Tyrel Lohr's. Actually, I'm thinking about the arcane blue right now. Okay. Shadowcat, it is in my cart right now. Remind me why we were looking at Arcane Blue. Was it for engine glow? Or was it something else? Alright, so this is what we're doing. We have, and I need my thing up so I can see what's actually on screen. This is a 225mm version of Tyrel Lohr's Narn Bintak dreadnought. We recently had him agree to allow us to commercially print his starships, and he has been producing some excellent ones real quick. He has an excellent catalog. The link to Tyrel's 3D models, some of which are free, some of them are paid for, will be in the description. Shoot. There we go. So with all the ships that we add to our site, to Etsy, they go through a prototyping phase. So this is a prototype of what we would offer in the store. It's not actually the one that we would offer in the store because it has a couple problems. Not problems with the model, but problems with my handling of the model. First of all, the way that I place these drain holes is unacceptable, and because there's still water in there. Like it's been rinsed. It went through an alcohol bath, then it went through a hot water bath. So there's only water in here, but there's still water in here. You can see that after this was primed, it's gotten wet, so water has rubbed off of it. So what I needed to do was a couple different things. First of all, you'll notice that it has a Star Wars Armada keyhole on it. And this is the bottom section that's supposed to be on the unit. Do you see how there's a problem here? Where the bottom section doesn't fit because of the keyhole? That was super dumb. So what I'm going to go back to the model on is we are going to put a drainage hole here, which technically, when it's upside down, should be the lowest point of the model. Like, I'll put one as big as probably this part is wide. That's about 9 millimeters, 8 millimeters, something like that. So it's got lots of space to drain. So I'll get rid of these 2 drain holes. I'll have this drain hole here plus a pinhole for air circulation. And then when this is done, when this is set up and ready to go, the drain hole will be entirely covered by the piece. Okay. So, kind of silly, but that's what we're dealing with. Today, we're going to paint the top. Now, we had posted on the Starship Miniatures Gaming subreddit, or not subreddit, the Facebook group, and we were talking about, hey, what's better? Do you dark prime? And the example was, we have this Chiquan that we primed black, and it painted over it. And I have an example right here where this was primed black and then we painted over it. Or do we prime it white and paint over it? Or a light color and paint over it? And the consensus was, there wasn't really a consensus. I don't know if the guys understood exactly what I was asking in the group. But one of the contributors said, hey, why don't you do a zenithal? And who was that? Let's go real quick. Let's figure out who it was. It was in the Starship Miniatures Gaming group. We had talked to... Scrolling down the previous posts. Here it is. Here's the post. Christian, I'm gonna butcher his name. Christian, that is a Geibler? That's a foreign B. I don't think that's actually how you pronounce that B. Does he have a pronunciation on his thing? No, he doesn't. Okay, so Christian was like, do a zenithal, and I was like, oh, even though I had watched a whole bunch of painting stuff in my life, it didn't occur to me to do a zenithal highlight on it. So I felt a little dumb on that. So, this is the plan. This is primed in gray and then has a very intense zenithal in white. So in some of the recesses it's dark, like in here, definitely on the bottom because we're not going to paint the bottom. It's dark, and then so we're going to go through, we're going to apply colors where we want. Our base coat's going to be this contrast Blood Angels red, and we're going to go from there. So we have our brush. Our old and very abused Army Painter regiment brush. And then we're going to go in and do all the details. There, it looks like there were supports on here that needed to be removed. Again, this is a prototype. This isn't ready for production on my end yet. That's my excuse. So, for sure we're going to use Blood Angels Red. We'll use our gunmetal. Because we lack imagination, there's definitely going to be some Basilicanum Gray. And we will use some Temple Guard Blue for our engine glow. And I think I'm going to have to... There we go. That way I can see the chat. In fact, I can grab that other window that has the picture in it. If you see full-size image, grab this specific window and go down here. Like... There we go. Hey, I do know what I'm doing, kind of, almost. Not really. Okay, so I can see the chat, I can see the inspiration picture, and I can see OBS. There we go. Let's get started. We're going to start with this guy, because it's going to be a lot easier. I'm thinking of doing all of the edges in gold. I don't know if that'll match. I don't know if that'll do good, but that's my thought process. Okay. And this is the back side. And because this is the base, we're not going to worry about getting it on the edge here. Tyrel was super accommodating when communicating with him regarding a commercial license. I'm very, very happy that he was as accommodating as he was. We've yet to sell any of his products, but we only have a couple listed anyway. We were gonna... The Bintak is the last ship that we were waiting for to launch our Narns. So this weekend, probably this weekend, we will get all of that done. We'll have a video shot for it, and then we will have it listed about the same time. Tyrel aims to please. Everybody, welcome to the sculptor in the chat, Tyrel Lohr, everybody. If I did this full time, I would probably have a thunderous applause button, but I don't. Neither do that very often or have that button. Tyrel, can you tell that I went into modeling program and raised these panels 0.35 millimeters? I'm used to doing that on other models, so I did it with these. I'm looking at these, the difference between the raised edges and the panel lines, and I don't know if it was necessary. It'll make painting this trim easier, but if you look at it, some of the trim pieces didn't raise because I was using like Baby's first modeling program to do that, and I wasn't paying attention when it's supposed to give you a visual indicator when some of the panels aren't following the command, but on here. I don't know. Again, this is all prototype phase, so I don't know. I don't know if it needed to be exaggerated at all. That's my point. I don't know if it needed to be exaggerated. I don't know, Tyrel. Are you part of the Tyrel Corporation? Do you have a lot of experience with replicants? Is there a joke to be made between replicants and data and lore? Who knows? Who knows? These are questions that we can't answer. All right. I think when I run out of the Blood Angels red, I'm going to use this pot and put in the one of the reds that I got from my Army Painter speed paint set that my wife bought me. Okay, we're going to set that aside for a second. Is that... Can you not say whether you're an android or not because you have programming that prevents you from doing that? That's the question, man. That's the question. I tried to convince my wife that she definitely had the voice to read the YouTube comment section, but you know, we both work. Ooh, let me make sure that's on screen. We both work full time, and I can understand if she gets off work, she probably doesn't want anything to do with any of this. She just wants to veg So I will hold her blameless. I'm actually run that in there. Okay, so I think we're going to do these back forks red, these forks green, the diamond gold, and then we'll put what we'll do first is we'll put basilicanum gray in the recess here, and then gold, and then probably a gunmetal highlight to highlight this part. Same thing with this. We'll do this in basilicanum gray, and then we'll pick out everything, every single detail to make sure that all the details pop. We're only painting the top of this. Come on. You know, it got super cool in Houston really quickly. Like, it went, I mean, we had a punishing summer. We have a punishing summer every year, but this year felt particularly bad. And I don't know if that is just impression or if it actually was worse. I know that the rest of the world encountered some pretty nasty temperatures in places that it didn't normally have. But as soon as October hit, it was like, oh, I'm done. And it's been super pleasant. Houston is the kind of city, like, if it was the temperature that it is in fall and winter year round, Houston would be like Malibu, because it's practically perfection. So the home prices would be higher. But that summer, man, I'm going to say that summer plays a large part in why the home prices in Houston are as cheap as they are. That, and you have to live in Texas, and Texans are a different breed of people. Let's see here. Tyrel Lohr says, does not compute. Tyrell says, after a long day, you just want to relax and disengage for a while. Makes sense. Rudy has asked, what name will we christen this ship? And it's going to be a Narn name, for sure. I don't know what name it is going to be, but it won't be Jakar, obviously. I don't know. Maybe we'll name it after the Jaquaneth plant. Did you guys watch Babylon 5, The Road Home? You have any thoughts on animated Babylon 5? There's been posters in the Babylon 5 subreddit that have been asking like very detailed questions on like, how do you think the Narn would do if blank, or would General Clark, or would President Clark's forces be able to retake Babylon 5 if blank, after they seceded and had support from the Minbari? And it's interesting because, like, if you look at the conversation that happens in Star Wars subreddit versus the Ma installation subreddit, same thing with Star Trek and Daystrom Institute. These are specific subreddits with specific groups of people asking those specific kinds of questions, and they they get kind of pedantic and they assume a lot of things. But the conversation in Babylon 5, since you don't really see that with the Babylon 5 guys, the posters there, is actually quite fun. My contribution to them was Someone had mentioned, like, what if Earth Force had given, like, secret ships to the Narn during the Civil War to support the Narn side, kind of like a Lend-Lease thing, maybe. And that resulted in the printing of a Narn Artemis, which is right here. Someone suggested that it should look like maybe like a Minbaru flyer, and I was like, hey, I could do that. So I grabbed Tyrel's fantastic ship and added a Star Wars Armada frigate peg to it and painted it. I think these hand-painted symbols are close enough to the Narns. Not perfect, though. I actually have been thinking, because painting these ships, their base coats are fine, but I've found, especially with the last couple Tyrel ships that I've painted, I haven't been happy with my razzle paint on them. So I'm wondering if there is, if I need to get into decals. I know Starship Shipyards. No. What is it? Starfighter Shipyards? There was a guy that sold Narn Razzle decals, which I have, but I've never been brave enough to put them on. Let's watch. These are the decals that he sold me that I've owned for years and never put on. I think if I'm going to be serious about these, yeah, the Jupiter 5 decals, or Jupiter 4 decals, made these. Which I think Starfighter Shipyards is the same guy. Pretty sure. Yeah, I think I need to use these on a couple of the ships. You know, the Taloth we only see, I think, in one scene in the show. And I think that is a crying shame, because the Taloth, I think the Taloth says a lot about the thought process of the Narn's shipbuilding, especially like right after they pushed the Centauri off. Alright, so we're going to apply the green here. And I don't know what we're going to do with the wings yet, so we're going to be careful not to hit the wings too much. Let's look at chat. Rudy says he hasn't seen The Road Home yet. Tara said, I watched it. I didn't particularly care for it, but I'm hard to please. Shadowcat said, I loved it. I watched the GMS interview first. Mr. Straczynski. The Narn Artemis turned out good in that paint scheme. It did. Because really, the way that I paint things... you know, I'm not a good painter. I'm not here to paint for, like, a competition. I'm not going to ever win a competition. But if I would paint this in EA colors, this is just going to be primed light gray, put Nuln Oil on it, and then highlighting all the metal bits, and then doing highlights like this. There would probably be a blue stripe as well, similar to what you see on, like, the Hyperion. Which, oh my gosh, do I have a problem with the Hyperion as a class name. I'll come back to that. Chat says, Narn striping is incredibly tedious, which is why my Narns take forever to paint. If I get lazy, I print them in blue color scheme like the Taloth. The Narn Dazzle Petter is so unique. I always thought it looked cool. Those decals certainly would make things easier. Blitz, hi, hello, Blitz Gaming. It is a big ship. It's 225 millimeters because it's supposed to be the dreadnought for the Narns. And 220 to 225 is really that dreadnought point that I like to hit. Like with the on my Etsy store, I've got the Allegiance, and that's, I think, about the right size. I think I'm going to probably do another coat of this, but I'm going to let it dry first. So we're going to put the cap on that for now. Technically, it's 2 for the cloth, I think, but it's interesting design, even if it's basically disappeared. It's awesome because you look at both the Taloth and then the Starbase. Let me see if I have the 3D model for the base part of the Starbase laying around here. Because I tried cleaning up. My workspace is a unholy mess. But I've been trying to get prints up off of my workspace and kind of put it away, but it's a struggle. I think, I recently got on Wellbutrin for depression and ADHD, and I was hoping that it would be a wonder drug, but I knew that it probably wouldn't, because Wellbutrin is probably the least potent of the ADHD drugs out there. But I could definitely tell that it works for depression, and it definitely has an impact on my ADHD. I just wish that I had been medicating myself from the beginning rather than now, because I'm chest deep in starships and other assorted mess. And it's hard to pull yourself out of that. My wife's like, well, just put everything away. And I'm like, there isn't an away for everything. Like, what do I do with the stuff that I don't have a spot for? And in the past, like when I transitioned to a different holder for my paints, from a mishmash of different okay, so my point is I can't find the base part of the shipyard. But the the Taloth is 2 Thenors or Tarax, depending on who you are, just connected together with a bridge section, right? So they use their hangers, but it's a bridge section that connects 2 Thenors. Their Starbase is the same thing. It's just a Starbase spar and then a whole bunch of docks for Thenors to come in and be the main living sections for the space station. It's crazy. Here, by the way, is an example. This was the Varnic that we were going with for our Narn faction on our Etsy store, and this is the Tyrel version of the Varnic, and you could tell that like it's simpler in places, and that being simpler or more solid, maybe more solid is the word to say, not simpler, but this makes it so much easier to print and so much easier to paint. It looks so much better. And yeah, I cannot believe that I stumbled upon Tyrel. I'll tell you how it happened. So I recently signed a commercial printing license for Dan Connolly. He has a lot of factions that I want to bring to the table, and factions that I've been locked out of because they don't. Most of the traditional makers in those spaces don't have commercial licenses. Well, they have them, but how they distribute those commercial licenses basically means that I'm not one of the people that's going to get those licenses. And that's fair. They need to do what they need to do to protect their brands and stuff, and they don't want small time people doing their stuff. I get it. I don't hold anything against them for making that decision, but I've wanted to get into things like Battlefleet Gothic, and there are Star Wars ships that are just impossible to find. And I had asked Dan, I was like, oh, hey, you know, a ship that I had never been able to find was the Orestes cruiser. And Dan was like, oh, well, I'll do a refit of that. And he came out with this. And then the day that he sent me this, I went searching for Orestes through Yegi. And Tyrel's Colts 3D page popped up. And I was like, how is it possible? How is it possible that I searched for years to have a good model of the Orestes, and in a week I went from 0 to 2? So I asked Tyrel if I could also distribute his stuff, and I'm glad that I did, because the models that he has, and Tyrel, I know that you're in the chat, but I'm still going to toot your horn. I hope it's not too cringeworthy for you. The models that he has make the most sense for 3D printing, period. There are free models everywhere if you search for Babylon 5. But Tyrel's are the best, period. Ooh, full support material. Gross. NRANT, if you have a 3D printer, go to Colts 3D, find Tyrel Lohr, and buy the stuff that he sells. And if you don't have a 3D printer, we'll see you at pulsefiredgaming.etsy.com. All right. This is not perfect. We're using almost exclusively transparent colors. Citadel Basilicanum Gray, Citadel Blood Angels Red, the Citadel Warp Lightning. We're doing that for a reason, because it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to look good on the table. I think you arriving at what you define as table quality, like as soon as you can define that and you can reach that with your own painting, that's incredibly liberating. We're going to take a break here and read some more stuff. Tyrel says he will, at Shadowcat, he will look at the interview this weekend. Shadowcat says, I miss playing Babylon 5, A Call to Arms. Shadowcat, it's if you need ships, I have been fulfilling orders on my Etsy store for A Call to Arms scale Babylon 5 ships. All I ask is that you provide the measurements of what you think they should measure at, and I can print them out. I have an order that is almost ready to ship out right now. That is A Call to Arms, an Omega, which we use our Omega that we got the license for from Pinshape many years ago. It's probably our most sold item, because we sold that ship, from our home printing and pulsefired.com, which is still a blog, by the way. We don't update it, but it still exists. But we also don't take those commissions anymore. We point everyone towards Etsy. What was the point? Oh yeah, Call to Arms. So the customer bought a Omega and a Gamma Command cruiser, and some Hyperions and some Olympuses. They bought fighters, Narn fighters, the Thunderbolt, Star Fury. What else did they buy? And those are they all printed very easily, except for the Jaquan. I need to reprint the Jaquan. Okay. That's that. Okay, where are we at in Shadowcat says lay down black before green. Probably, but yeah, we probably should have done that, but we didn't. Okay, chat says 3D printing makes it really easy to build a big backlog of models just waiting to get painted, and then in various states of completion. That's absolutely correct. Last year, 2022, I started making resolutions about painting my backlog, and I have made fantastic success with that. But this year we've gone even further. Like, this is probably the only ship that I've bought from Etsy. I bought this from a competitor. This is Mel's Miniatures version of the New Republic cruiser seen in Ahsoka. And the reason why I bought it from my competitor was because no one will be able to sell this except for Wes Jansen 3D, because he has a special relationship with Mel's Miniatures. Mel has gotten bit in the past, so he's never going to distribute SCLs to anybody except Wes, because he knows that Wes won't. I mean, Wes is not his name, but Wes Jansen's, he's not going to distribute those. But I bought it because this was a sculpt that I had to have. And this one's another good example. You know, this is a product, and it is also part of our giveaway, showcasing this magnificent Keldabe from the slightly used Starship Yards, or Spaceship Yards. By the way, if you're a fan of starships, of Star Wars starships, and you own a 3D printer, this is one of those guys that you should support on Patreon. Tyrel is a guy that should probably think about a Patreon at some point, but I understand that that's a big, big ask. Tyrell says a lot of that comes from designing to print for smaller size, so when they scale up, they tend to print easier. Absolutely. Tyrell says, Lowell, the only reason I started posting these ships is because I saw you lamenting about not having an Orestes available. Oh my gosh, I spoke to the universe and the universe was listening. Tyrell says, I started doing these B5 models because I had another friend who wanted some Narn ships and none of the free ones were printable. They all take like the Dagkar missile frigate, by the way, is a great example of this. This is a free model, and this was kind of printable, not completely printable, and of course we had to do things like add the Armada keyhole to it, but we went in, we thickened the little antennas in here, we increased the size of these panels so they would print better, same thing with these. You know, I started printing in 2018, and a lot of what I wanted to print wasn't there. So I had to go find it from game assets and stuff like that. And when you're getting stuff from those kinds of sources, you have to get good at making them more printable than they are. This is an example of, again, a prototype. This is the generic Battlestar, generic Jupiter Battlestar, because the Star Wars Armada guys in the Star Wars Legacy Discord group want to add Battlestar Galactica to it. So I was like, well, I want to be on that train. So I pulled out my generic Battlestar. And some of these panels aren't well attached. And I think this started as a game asset or something. So I had to go in and like manually embed these panels and make them all bigger and thicker and better, basically so they actually show up in print. Like you could see, supporting this is a dog, and this is an example of a 3D model that's not really ready for prime time yet. You got to be able to print something. Well, from a distribution standpoint, you got to be able to have the confidence in your model to be able to go in, create a sliced file, and hit print, and have that sliced file work 90-95% of the time over like 1,000 prints. Like I'm printing a Imperial 2 Star Destroyer to fulfill an order that's got to get shipped out tomorrow. And that is the O'Neill Creations ship. And I modified that ship because his ships are his Imperial Star Destroyers at least, they're multi-part kits, and I don't, from a commercial standpoint, have the time and tolerance to deal with that. So I combined all of the parts, and I cut a huge gap that's supposed to be hidden by the engine section out of it. And that was helped by the fact that he already had the engine section, because it's a multi-part kit. He already had the engine section cut out. So I hollowed the nearly complete ship and hollowed the nearly complete ship out, and then so the engine section hides that giant hole. Daft, do you have an order that's supposed to be shipped out by tomorrow that also has an MC75 in it? Because if you do, that's probably yours. It'll be ready to print by tonight, or it'll be ready to ship by tonight. Tyrell, yeah, most of those models are pretty good. Like, someone was talking about the Minerva, and you obviously can't really reliably sell those models because you don't own a license to those models. But I just wanted to see, because I have a tool that, well, Daft, everything's ready but the ISD. You're gonna be excited, I think. I have a Unity tool that helps unpack assets, and the Minerva, like most of the ships from that game, are perfect. But there's a couple of those that are just impossible to unpack. Like, let me give you a good example. Here it is. So, there was a Battlestar Galactica movie, I think it was Blood and Chrome, where they talk about the Osiris. Yes, it's going to Dallas. So I asked Dan Connolly, because I couldn't get that model to be manifold and to print right, to print out, or to give me an Osiris, and this is his Mark II Osiris. So it's not perfect. Like, the engine's a wider with the one that you see in the thing. The fork is bigger. But like, this is pretty damn flawless. This is a prototype, so the dishes kind of get wrinkly when you print them, and then you remove the supports. But on the new one, on the production model, this is ready to go live. I just need to actually take the time and post it. These print out flawlessly. So his interpretation of the what is it? It's the Orion class Pocket Battlestar was gorgeous. But you cannot, unless you have way more knowledge than me, you cannot get that model from that game manifold to print. It just will not happen. I did get a couple of them to look okay, but I basically had to thicken him by like... Oh, you want me to use a separate pot for my metallics? Shadowcat, is that what you're talking about? So that Orion that I originally had, that game file, just would not... It was never going to be suitable for printing. So I was extremely happy when I found a sculptor that was ready to, go and do that stuff and make it look amazing. And it really does look amazing. It looks great. All right, what is our time right now? 45 minutes. We got 15 more minutes, guys, and then we're going to call it a night. It's 7:48 my time, and I got to start doing things to get ready for my day tomorrow. I'm having my building inspector come from the city. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I don't have a separate water right now, so I'm going to switch brushes here in a second. But let me tell you about this water heater thing. You get to a point, we're first-time home buyers, my wife and I. I was reflecting with her the other day that we probably bought our house at the last acceptable time to buy a house. with a combination of our income and house prices in Houston. And owning a house is just kind of bullcrap. Ooh. Well, hold on. That's a little too gold. I'm gonna go grab another cup of water so I can wash out this brush. Alright, cup of water for metallics. Gonna write metallics on it. Metallics. Shadow cat. Cat. There we go. There we go, Shadow Cat. And then here's our water pot that we've been using for forever. For freaking forever. Because the more you recycle your plastic, the longer or the less energy cost it has. Okay. All right. It's 1:50 a.m. there. Gross. I'm sorry. I'm sorry it's so late. I'm glad I can entertain you in a time where most people are asleep. Your time. So anyway, water heater. We purchased the house. The previous owners probably installed the water heater. It might have been the previous owners before them. The water heater lasted till from 2010 to 2023. So that's pretty remarkable for most consumer water heaters these days. Okay. So the water heater failed. We pay for home warranty, and we continue to pay for the home warranty 5 years after we bought our house because we've actually extracted quite a bit of value from it because they have replaced things like our refrigerator. Our refrigerator failed and had a problem with a ice maker that they couldn't replace, they couldn't repair, so they bought us a new refrigerator. So that's awesome thing number one that the home warranty did. Number two, when our clothes washer failed, they replaced our clothes washer. Pretty freaking awesome. So the water heater, whoever installed the water heater, didn't include a sediment trap in 2010. So when our building inspector, our purchase building inspector, failed to say, oh, hey, you probably want that thing on there because it's required by code. And we haven't thought about going after our kind of messy dry brush. There we go. Messy dry brush. So, home warranty wouldn't cover it. And so we're out of water heater. And, I fought with them over it, and because I had no idea what a sediment trap was. I was like, what is that? What is that thing? And I eventually researched it and realized, oh, hey, the reason why they're not covering it makes sense, but I don't really want to admit that to them. But so we got the water heater installed. They said that they would reimburse us. The plumber that we worked with, while they weren't willing to say that it had a sediment trap when it didn't have a sediment trap, because that would kind of be fraud. They did say, hey, install it yourself, get it inspected, or they said install it yourself and go to the home warranty and get it inspected, or have the home warranty pay you. Okay, so the home warranty, I had never heard of this process with the home warranty. We talked to them and they're like, oh yeah, we'll totally do that. And then they sent us an email that said, oh hey, these are our requirements to pay for the water heater, or to reimburse you for the water heater install. You have to have it inspected. Oh my gosh. So the getting it inspected part is a triviality. It's like it's a nothing burger. But because bureaucracy is bureaucracy, getting to the point where we could create an account to request an inspection was the biggest load of utter bullcrap that exists on the planet Earth. We had to prove that we owned the house. The name that the tax assessor has is not my full name. So they were like, well, we can't prove that you own the house. And I was like, I mean, I've got the mortgage payment. I have all of the originating documents. It says my name on my driver's license. And they were finally like, well, just come down to the office and show us those documents and we'll get it approved. So we got it approved. Tomorrow the home inspector will come, look at the water heater for 30 minutes, probably say, good job, and then we'll be able to get that resolved. But these are things like, I don't know, if you don't pay attention to the way that your parents had to handle things like that, I don't think you know just the craziness that is owning a home until you experience it yourself. And man, do you experience it yourself. Oh boy. Whew. I think I've bored chat to death. Well, it says there's still 5 concurrent viewers. So apparently that's interesting enough to you guys. Maybe you just turned it on and then went to bed. Who knows? So our goal is to continue for another 8 minutes. We're going to go to 1 hour and 1 minute. Then we're going to end. This won't be ready by now because I need to do all the detailing on the ribs. I think I might actually, based on this picture that I'm looking at, there's like a blue glow in the ribs. So I might just grab something like Croxagore scales and do that real quick. We'll see. I understand that homeownership is a privilege that not everybody has. And I appreciate how lucky we were to be able to buy a house when we did. But my mom said something. And she's like, do you own your house or does your house own you? Sometimes it feels the one way and sometimes it definitely feels the other. All right. So, metallic. Tyrel says, home ownership is definitely not always fun. Shadowcast says, even within an HOA. You know, HOAs serve a specific purpose, and they do serve that purpose pretty well. I'll say that. However, I'm not in an HOA. My house was built in the 80s, and the community that we are in does not have an HOA. Almost exclusively, HOAs are set up by the builders, and after the building project is done, they turn that over to the homeowners. And because ours is old enough to predate that, we don't have a home warranty, or not a home warranty, a HOA. I'm not the kind of guy that would say that I would never live in an HOA, because, like I said, HOAs serve a specific purpose, but they can get out of control. My brother is renting a house, and they've had problems with the HOA because they live across the street from the HOA president. So when the lawn looks like crap, they hear about it. But those kinds of procedures are there. You know, people can have their little fiefdoms, their little little dictatorships, but HOAs allow people to protect the value of their most expensive asset they may ever own in their life. So there's that. All right, that looks Okay, let's do our second coat of warp lighting real quick. I think we do need to do red on the outside borders of the hull. Is this in frame? It's a Christmas ship. By the way, if you're here in the channel and you have not yet watched the Keldabe video, we do monthly giveaways for our. I mean, when we have a functioning brain, we do monthly giveaways for ships that are released on the Patreons and support and creators that we support. And we're giving away a Keldabe and 2 Crusader Corvettes. All you have to do to enter is live somewhere where the United States Post Office will deliver, including international, and leave a comment with your favorite Star Wars video game on the Keldabe video. And then on the 27th of this month, we will draw a winner for those ships live. Our past winners have been pretty cool, and we are so in November. We're gonna do one from our back catalog of Confederacy of Independent Systems ships, and in December. So we're waiting for O'Neill Creations to finish their big project for this year, which is a Lucrehulk class, or a Lucrehulk battleship from Star Wars, the Clone Wars, from the Phantom Menace, you know, the donut. But if they don't release their ship, we will be giving away a whole Zan Consortium force, because it's rumored, and this is just a rumor at this point, that the Slightly Used Spaceship Yards Patreon will be releasing a Vengeance class frigate, which will be the last ship that has been missing from the catalog of ships for the Zan Consortium. So if that is the case, it'll include a Aggressor, a Star Destroyer, it'll include a Keldabe, it'll include 2 Vengeances, 2 Crusaders, and then some of the other generic ships like CR-90s or Nebulon Bs. We'll have a full detail list about what will be in it in the video itself, but that is our backup plan. And I think it's going to be pretty awesome. Regardless, you know, it's been a very good year for us. This was our first year starting our Etsy store. I kick myself every day when I think about all the time prior to 2023 where I thought about starting an Etsy store. You know, we're happy to share our happiness and wealth with other people regarding giveaways and such. All right, so we've got a minute left. So we're going to grab some glue, apply it to the surface of the top here. Okay, and glue it down. Make sure it is as you can see. So this was scaled to fit at a specific size. We scaled the ship up, so the tolerance is not the same, but it's very similar. And there we go. So that is the Bintak class dreadnought for the Narn regime. Thank you very much for watching. Look forward to the video that we're going to do about the Narn regime and Tyrel Lohr's specific, Cults 3D content specifically. Maybe we'll get him to participate in one of our interviews. We have an interview that we shot for We got the... Okay, so we have an interview from Charles Owens. He is a little self-conscious about doing social appearances. So he gave us all of his responses to our interview questions that we ask in our interviews. And so I will have my wife read his responses, and that'll be our second interview. We've asked a couple other people that are up for it. I just need to go back and collect their stuff. Let's read the last little bit of chat. Let's see here. So, Daft Muse said, can't wait for the minis. I'm sure to leave a good review. Only leave a good review if you think that it's good. Don't leave a good review because you participate here, please. Honest reviews are better than anything. I watched Red Wheel with so many fantastic stories. I need to see that. Also, Shadowcat, I'm going to order that Arcane Blue tonight so we can use it in our next painting. Tyrel says, bringing laser fire to all good little Centauri in the universe. I love it. Rudy said, polybutane pipes are common in the House of the Time Frame. Yeah, I guess. Shadowcat said, I need to get the Primus map for the RPG. Rudy said, a friend of mine was forced to replace all of his. Maybe. The piping in our house is fine. It's just this one component was left out of a gas water heater install, and that was the reason why that it was not covered by our home warranty. And that's just, if you look at what a cinema trap is, it's 4 pieces of black iron pipe in a specific configuration between the water heater, gas regulator, and the gas valve for it. It's dumb. Whatever. Shadowcat said, do I win November as my birthday's on the 10th? I don't know. My wife's birthday's on the 5th. Maybe she should win. I'm just kidding, Shadowcat. We'll see if we can remember you. Tyrell says, great watching the painting. Rudy says, love the aggressive presence of the Narn ships. They are aggressive and they're beautiful. I'm glad they were able to do this one. Again, this one is 225 meters. The production model of this will have the Armada keyhole on the bottom fin rather than the bottom of the ship, so it can actually have both fins, and we look forward to that. Everybody, thank you very much for joining us tonight. It was fantastic to have all of you in the chat. We will catch you next time. Have a great night.